Hello, another week has gone by at the Capitol. It was very tumultuous, especially House File 2. They went in about 3:15, they got started around 3:30, and at one time there were 85 amendments to the bill. House File 2 has been known as the LIFO bill, last in, first out, teacher licensure, quite a few different things. There was very, very heated debate. There were some really strange amendments. There was one amendment to make chairs of the committees in the House have the same kind of last in, first out as teachers. Obviously that didn't go on. Very few amendments did go on. The Democrats really felt that, the teacher evaluation system has really just gotten started, so, why would you play with that? But this does not take effect until 2018, I believe. So, it's not like it's something that people won't be able to prepare for. It does also say that students can't be placed another year in a classroom with a teacher who has a low evaluation. It also says that before a student is placed in a classroom with a community expert, they must notify the parents or guardian. And the community expert piece in this bill, which just says that, school districts have to look for a licensed teacher in that area before they use a community expert, which is what our amendment says to Representative Quam's bill. There was a lot of discussion on community experts, and not all of it was really positive. I think it's being seen right now as a threat to licensed teachers, but as we all know, there's a lot of areas where teachers don't even have a chance to get a degree, so you need a community expert. Senator Nelson has introduced Senate File 1481 and 1482, so we look forward to those getting a hearing in Chair Uyghur's committee. And Senator Senjum has introduced the bill that gives 1.2 weight to students that are taking independent study or online learning. We're waiting for the fiscal note on that. There's a couple differences of opinion. Some senators think it's going to save money. Some senators think it's going to cost quite a bit. So as soon as he gets that, we will certainly let you know. As I said, House File 2 has a companion in the Senate with Senator Bonoff, and it will get its first reading on Monday, and we'll see how it goes from there. A lot of people feel very confident that, number one, if it did pass the House and the Senate or come out of conference committee, the governor definitely would not sign it, and he has made that very clear. There are some good things in the bill in terms of licensure and allowing teachers from out of state to get their licenses a lot easier. But taking the bill as a whole, it is just way too controversial to make it too far, I think, in the system. But there are breakout bills from it, and we'll see how they go. Last week in the Senate, it was kind of special ed week, and there are still more bills coming up on special ed this coming week. Chair Uyghur has put in a bill that looks like it might be his omnibus policy bill. It'll be introduced on Monday, and we'll see. I'm sure he'll have a hearing on that, and we'll see how that discussion goes. Like I said, House File 2 has been taken up the whole week, and we'll just have to see what happens this next week. Deadline for the first to be out of the first body. The body of origin of the bill is the 20th, so people are scrambling and hours are getting longer, and a lot of hearings are in the evenings as well as in the day, and I think that's really fair because there's a lot of bills. Representative Norton has a hearing on Tuesday in I think it's Ed Finance, Chair Loon, for her dual language path, and that bill, I think, is liked by a lot of people, so we'll see how that goes for her. We will talk to you again next week, and here is John.
Hi there, John Call here. I was going to talk about a couple things. First of all, we've had good news regarding the surplus. Anytime you have a surplus rather than deficit, that's a positive thing. But people need to understand that the surplus isn't really as big as it appears to be. First of all, the cost of inflation across the various enterprises of state government comes up to about $700–800 million if you just look at the consumer price index. That takes quite a bite out of it right now. The second thing that we need to be mindful of is a major lawsuit with I forget the name of the corporation, so I won't hazard a guess, but we might have an obligation of as much as $700 million. We might have an obligation of as much as $700 million because of a bad call we made on the tax liability of one corporation. So we are going to need to put some money in reserve in anticipation of that. Furthermore, the Senate is of a mind to put at least half the money away in reserve just because the state does not have an adequate reserve given the wild fluctuations in our income stream. The House, on the other hand, is more inclined to give money back in the form of tax cuts. Tom Bach has said he went through that during the Ventura era with the Jesse checks, and in the next 10 years of deficits between Ventura's approach and Pellegni's approach, he would like to avoid going forward. So there's going to be some pretty big philosophical differences about how the reserve will be deployed in the next 2 months before the end of the session. Targets are very important to the legislative process. We're a little bit away from the time that targets are developed, but nothing really serious is going to happen on budget bills until the targets are established, especially the targets for spending it with the House and Senate combined targets. The last thing I'd like to say is that for all the bills that we have been able to get authored, we also have put in hearing requests, so we're pushing ahead, trying to maximize our opportunities. And with that, I will sign off and wish you a good weekend.